Mount Fuji is the tallest mountain in Japan. It is also a volcano. Mount Fuji is a famous cultural icon of Japan, as a lot of people have painted it and taken photographs of it. Fuji is the second highest volcano located on an island in Asia, after Mount Kerinci on the island of Sumatra, and seventh highest peak of an island on Earth. Fuji is exceptionally symmetrical cone, which QIS covered in snow for about 5 months of the year. Very low at the high altitude, and the cone is covered by snow for several months of the year. Around 4,000 to 6,000 species of plants occur naturally in Japan. The vegetation varies widely from subtropical forest in the south to coniferous forest in the north. In the subtropical zone, mangroves, cycads and tree ferns can be found. In the warm temperate climate of Kyushu, Shikoku and southwestern Honshu, the dominant vegetation is broad-leaved evergreen forest with many oaks. In North Honshu and southwest Hokkaido, the climate is cool temperate with broad-leaved deciduous trees including Japanese beech and oaks like the Kanara. Conifers are dominant in much of Hokkaido and in the mountains of central and northern Honshu, with spruces and firs growing. In the highest mountains there is a zone of Arctic alpine plants including the low-growing Siberian dwarf pine. Conifer plantations have replaced natural forest in many areas. Commonly grown trees include the Hinoki cypress, Japanese red pine, Japanese black pine, Sakura evergreen and Japanese red cedar. The last is Japan's tallest conifer, reaching 40 meters in height. Bamboo grows abundantly in Japan with around 400 to 500 different species, including the dwarf bamboos known as sasa and the taller kinds known as teak, which can reach 20 meters in height. Many plants have been introduced to Japan from mainland Asia, including important crops like rice and garden plants such as the chrysanthemum. Since the Meiji Restoration, increasing numbers of plants have come from Europe, North America and elsewhere. Native food plants include the water dropwort and wasabi. Japan is substantially prone to earthquakes, tsunami and volcanic eruptions because of its location along the Pacific Ring of Fire. It has the 17th highest natural disaster risk as measured in the 2016 World Risk Index. Japan has 111 active volcanoes. Destructive earthquakes, often resulting in tsunami, occur several times each century. The 1923 Tokyo earthquake killed over 140,000 people. More recent major quakes are the 1995 Great Hanshin earthquake and the 2011 Tohoku earthquake, which triggered a large tsunami. Cherry blossom is known as Japanese cherry and Sakura. Many of the cherry trees currently enjoyed for cherry blossom viewing are not wild species but cultivar. Because cherry trees have a mutable trait, many cultivars have been created for cherry blossom viewing, especially in Japan. The Japanese have produced many cultivars by selecting superior or mutant individuals that were born from natural crossings of wild cherry trees, or by crossing them artificially, and then breeding them by grafting and cutting. The Japanese macaque, also known as the snow monkey, is a terrestrial Old World monkey species that is native to Japan. They are colloquially referred to as snow monkeys, because some live in areas where snow covers the ground for months each year. No other non-human primate is more northern living, nor lives in a colder climate. Individuals have brownish-gray fur, pinkish-red faces, and short tails. 2 subspecies are known. Japanese macaques live in matrilineal societies, and females stay in their natal groups for life, while males move out before they are sexually mature. Macaque groups tend to contain a number of adults of both sexes. In addition, a Japanese macaque troop contains several matrilines. These matrilines may exist in a dominance hierarchy with all members of a specific group ranking over members of a lower-ranking group. Temporary all-male groups also exist, composed of those that have recently left their natal groups and are about to transfer to another group. However, many males spend ample time away from any group and may leave and join several groups. During feeding or moving, Japanese macaques often emit coos. These most likely serve to keep the troop together and strengthen. The macaque has unusual behaviors, including bathing together in hot springs and rolling snowballs for fun. Also, in recent studies, the Japanese macaque has been found to develop different accents, like humans. Macaques in areas separated by only a few hundred miles can have very different pitches in their calls, their form of communication. The Japanese macaque has been involved in many studies concerning neuroscience and also is used in drug testing. Swans arrive in Japan from mid-October onwards, and up to 32,000 whooper swans and 31,000 bewick swans have been recorded in mid-winter in the late 1990s. This is more than 50% of the East Asian populations of these 2 species. In addition, 150 feral mute swans reside in Japan throughout the year. Several species of swans are migratory, either wholly or partly so. The mute swan is a partial migrant, being resident over areas of Western Europe but wholly migratory in Eastern Europe and Asia. The whooper swan and tundra swan are wholly migratory, and the trumpeter swans are almost entirely migratory. There is some evidence that the black-necked swan is migratory over part of its range, but detailed studies have not established whether these movements are long or short-range migration. Japanese crane is a large East Asian crane among the rarest cranes in the world. In some parts of its range, it is known as a symbol of luck, longevity, and fidelity. Overall, they are snow-white in color with black on the wing secondaries, which can appear almost like a black tail when the birds are standing, but the real tail feathers are actually white. Males are black on the cheeks, throat, and neck, while females are pearly gray in these spots. The bill is olive green to greenish horn. The legs are slate to grayish black, and the iris is dark brown. This species is among the largest and heaviest cranes. Typical body weight can range from 4.8 to 10.5 kilograms, 11 to 23 pounds, with males being slightly larger and heavier than females and weight ranging higher just prior to migration. On average, it is the heaviest crane species, although both the cerus and wattled crane can grow taller and exceed this species in linear measurements. In the spring and summer, the migratory populations of the Japanese crane breed in Siberia, eastern Russia, northeastern China and occasionally in northeastern Mongolia. The breeding range centers in Lake Khanka, on the border of China and Russia. Normally, the crane lays 2 eggs, with only one surviving. Later, in the fall, they migrate in flocks to the Korean peninsula and east-central China to spend the winter. Japanese cranes have a highly omnivorous diet, though the dietary preferences have not been fully studied. They eat rice, parsley, carrots, redbuds, acorns, buckwheat and a variety of water plants. The animal matter in their diet consists of fish, including carp and goldfish, amphibians, especially salamanders, snails, crabs, dragonflies, small reptiles, shrimp, small mammals like rodents and small birds like ducklings. They seem to prefer a carnivorous diet. Although rice is now essential to survival for wintering birds in Japan, and grass seeds are another important food source. They typically forage by keeping their heads close to the ground, jabbing their beaks into mud when they encounter something edible. When capturing fish or other slippery prey, they strike rapidly by extending their necks outward, a feeding style similar to that of the heron. Although animal prey can be swallowed whole, red-crowned cranes more often tear up prey by grasping with their beaks and shaking it vigorously, eating pieces as they fall apart. Most foraging occurs in wet grasslands, cultivated fields, shallow rivers, or on the shores of lakes. Stay tuned with the channel. We will glad to see you next time.